Reading aloud as a literacy promoting activity, looking at emergent literacy. Sarah Bonner, EML 440, Semester 1, 2018, Assessment 2, Part A, Portfolio Item 2.4. So what is reading aloud? In this mind map summarised from the Seeley Flint textbook, we can see that reading aloud is an emergent literacy practice that involves predominantly a parent, carer, or a teacher, or even an older child reading aloud to the child in their care. It is an opportunity for the child to experience literature, to be exposed to new words and meanings, to absorb the culture of reading, and to understand how books are written. The child is provided with a model for fluent and expressive reading, has the opportunity for powerful exposure to literature, and an introduction to the joy and love of storytelling. It has been said that reading aloud is the single most important activity for eventual success in reading. It has also been referred to in popular culture as the defining tool for academic success. The following sources look at the role that reading aloud plays in supporting literacy development and its reflections in classroom practice. The first two sources looked at here come from American projects looking to support and expand the reading aloud opportunities for families within the home. Both the Family Literacy Project, created by the University of Nevada Cooperative Extension, and Project EASE, or Early Access to Success in Education, looked to offering intervention programs to support families in creating literacy-rich home environments. Both papers assert that reading aloud is one of the most effective ways to promote literacy in the home, and that exposure to literacy in that home environment directly correlates with literacy attainments in the classroom. Here in the Family Literacy Project, which comprised of 6 weekly workshops and reached 500 families when introduced in 1997, it is clear that the researchers have identified the ways in which reading aloud supports early literacy and the implications in classroom practice. The project witnessed gains in children's enjoyment of reading, increased understanding of print concepts, increased and varied use of parent reading techniques, and ultimately strove to provide a model for collaborative reading aloud as a successful effort in addressing literacy issues. It is interesting to note that this project aims specifically to address concerns of illiteracy levels in the state of Nevada, and that collaborative reading aloud was seen as the best asset available for remedying this deficit. It's a great quote from this article put on this particular slide. The foundation for literacy is laid during the preschool years by parents who read to their children, who have books and magazines at home, and who model reading and writing. A child between ages 1 and 6 who shares a book with an adult for 15 minutes a day will have had 455 hours of individual reading instruction before entering school. A child who isn't read to will have none. These children are struggling uphill from the first day they set foot in school. Similarly to the Family Storyteller Project, Project EASE was devised as an intervention program addressing research that asserted, firstly, that emergent literacy is centred on print and language skills, secondly, that the family is a powerful contributor to a child's learning experiences in the home and consequently also at school, and thirdly, that storybook reading specifically could be seen as the convergence of these research outcomes with an interest and focus on both the regularity and quality of this reading time. Listen to this quote. Although excellent preschool and kindergarten classrooms can provide children with opportunities to learn and refine these skills, it is widely acknowledged that linguistically rich home environments contribute more powerfully to the early developments of these critical abilities. In both of these studies, reading aloud is given ultimate emphasis in emergent literacy and is utilised as a dominant base on which to build linguistically rich home environments with the implication being successful literacy attainments in the classroom setting as an immediate consequence of having those developed home environments. In this slide, Chen and Harris's paper looks more directly at home environments where English is not the first language. While once again reading aloud is presented as an incredibly favourable form of emergent literacy within the home environment, in this article it is woven into a fabric of home literacy practices, reflecting what Seely Flint intimated in Chapter 6 regarding the cultural implications and associations of reading aloud as a practice. Listen to this quote. Literature documenting parental involvement in children's literacy learning suggests that children with highly involved parents demonstrate higher literacy attainment. Kit Lawson's article builds upon another aspect presented in the mind map summary of Seely Flint's discussion, leading us forward into classroom practice and the wider implications of reading aloud. This is a particularly powerful quote from the article. Parental reading aloud is also an indicator of children's later academic success, which suggests that the practice may be further linked to children's development of broader academic skills and behaviour, such as persistence and the ability to sustain attention. This last resource from the ABC Education website is an article by children's librarian Margaret Robson-Kett called The Ageless Rewards of Reading Aloud. These quotes from the article really reflect the work of the researchers in the previous articles and studies also. Reading aloud is a part of the lifelong human story journey. Hearing the story read aloud by an enthusiastic and enraptured adult means that the mechanical difficulties are overcome and pure enjoyment can take over. Reading aloud at home supports formal teaching once children go to school. An understanding of how story works is essential to learning to read, and teachers appreciate a family interest in books and stories. Before considering the strengths and weaknesses or limitations of reading aloud as an emergent literacy practice, let's look firstly at the theories that inform this literacy promoting activity. The psycholinguistic model gives us the whole language learning approach and immersion in literature. We can also look at the transactional model for negotiation between the reader and text, and in the case of reading aloud, also between the listener and the text, as well as the text and the world beyond the book. And in the critical model, we can look at making meaning in an engaged, interactive, questioning and empowering way as being central to reading aloud practices. Lastly, the strengths and weaknesses of reading aloud as an emergent literacy practice can be considered here. Some can be highlighted directly from particular sources. For example, the Chen and Harris article shows a number of weaknesses and limitations in regard to cultural background and presumed understanding of the parents. Many of the strengths are highlighted directly and openly in the studies of both Project Ease and the Family Storyteller. In conclusion, reading aloud can be seen to have many benefits to the child during their experience of this emergent literacy practice and consequently in the classroom environment that they enter also.